Hi, everyone. Welcome to another one of our teacher interviews. And this time we are joined all the way from Brazil by Aline and Natasha. It's wonderful to meet you both. Please introduce yourselves.
Oh, hi guys. First, we are so proud and honored and actually so happy and inspired to be here. So thank you, Alex, for this amazing opportunity to see the variety of the quilting work. This is so inspiring. We are really super happy. I am Aline.
And I'm Natasha.
We quilt since 2014, and I think we'll get there. So for now, let's just roll with our names. And that we really like explore all the fun stuff that quilting can do. So we do free motion quilting as our primarily technique, but we love to explore anything that has fabric and thread and sometimes even ink in it.
Wonderful. Okay. And yeah, I mean, certainly talking of the variety that the quilting world contains, we can see that in your background. You've got loads of amazing things on the wall, as well as all those ribbons. Are these awards that you've won?
Yeah, they are actually all international awards. We are very proud of them. There are 18 of them, including Best Paducah, Best Houston. They are very big awards. That's why that's why we display them here. If I put them in my front, I'm just so proud of them. English teachers, English speaking teachers, they were always an inspiration for us. So be able to be like paired with them, it's a really great honor for us. So yes, and here we have all this stuff going on because we had to move a little from our original scenario. And I put everything here is better than a blank wall.
Absolutely. And there's some beautiful pieces there and on the table in front of you. And then I also have to ask about your t-shirts as well, which look awesome.
This is a very exciting thing that we are doing right now. They are brand new for us. They just arrived. And this is a partnership with a company that has a social work. So it's a certificate cotton and social company. It's all the amazing things. Plus we get to design our own shirts and use and sell them. So it's just great all around.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm going to put a link to that in the interview notes that will be along with this so that people can check those out.
Okay.
You mentioned that you started quilting in 2014. How did that come about?
Well, that's a funny story because we have just graduated from college and I'm an architect. Aline was a makeup
makeup designer. Yeah. I think it's like something like that in English.
So decided we wanted to work together, and those two professions won't go around together to do anything.
Yeah.
So we just discovered quilting and we say, yeah, let's do it. We never done it, we never seen it, and say, yeah, let's do it professionally.
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And we didn't to quilt, and we bought a long arm movable machine. So when we started our business, we have loads of debts and we didn't know how to quilt. So that is how everything started. But it was so amazing because just weeks before we did our first quilt, we got our first client quilt, which we talked after. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Did I said before? Yeah. It's after. I'm so sorry. After we sit and quilt for the very first time, we get our first client quilt, which we talk about on our workshop because we did everything we could possibly wrong out of despair. And at the same time, we were so proud of that because someone was willing to give their art for us to interact with, and I think that is very powerful, and that drive in us. So a few months later, we won our first award. It's like less than a month. It was very sonic, super fast. So it was crazy, but I think it paid out.
Less than a year.
Less than a year?
Yes,
okay.
Not a month. Like,
I'm so nervous. I'm so sorry. I'm just so nervous.
Don't worry. This is fascinating, though. So had you sewn on a domestic sewing machine before you bought the long arm?
We had to, actually. No. We didn't want it.
No, before we bought the long arm.
Oh, no, never.
We said, let's do it professionally, and then we bought the long arm, and we never quilted in any machine. Wow. And then, yeah, that was the naive of the 20s. So, what you can do?
Yeah. But then our machine didn't arrive, and it was delaying our professional activities, you know. So we had to quilt on a kind of domestic and industrial machine. It's a bit, and it's built on a table. So that's where we teach today. It's the same machine. We are very attached to it because it was the very first machine that we ever quilted, and we didn't want to start quilting on a sit-down machine before we got long arm, because we thought that could mess up our long arm learning skills. Yeah, we were very afraid because that was a huge thing for us, but we had to, because Natasha moms pressured us, and we are so glad for her to do that, because actually our first customer quilt was not quilted on the long arm, was quilted on this sit-down machine, because the client wanted it fast, and we said, okay, we can do this. We can do. And she also asked for trapunto. So that is a story too. Yeah, it was very crazy.
Oh my goodness. And this is your first one that you're doing, and you're doing trapunto and stuff on it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was like tears and sweat and everything in between. Yeah. But it turned out amazing. Till this day, I cannot believe that was our first client quilt. And it was actually like our 5th quilt ever. It's like crazy.
No, but the ones before were placemats, and that was queen or king.
Maybe king.
Yeah. So it's
a lot of fabric between the two. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So how did you learn to use the long arm? Like, how did you develop those skills?
Well, we bought a adapted long arm first, but that's why we love the English teachers, the English speaker teachers, because YouTube was our first teacher. You know, we had no money. We were like drowning in debts because the long arm is very expensive. I always joke that your money is worth 5 times our money, and we have to pay your money. So it was times. It's super expensive. Today, you can buy an apartment with the cost of a long arm. Yeah, it's not an apartment, but an apartment, you know. So it's a huge thing. And we were just like desperate, as I said. So we bought vintage English magazines by for $1 at eBay, and everything was wrong because it was from the 80s and from the 70s. So you know, we've just had to thought ourselves, because there was not so many information as it is right now on YouTube. It's like almost 10 years ago. So everything that we had on YouTube was clips and teasers of teachers' DVDs. So it was very difficult, but at the same time, it was a blessing in disguise, because we were able to not get any of the bad habits that quilters have, and we did get to explore our own languages, what we wanted to do, the designs we wanted to make. So our first design was a monster, because it's just playing with the fabric and pretend the thread is a pen. So Natasha did a monster, and I couldn't do the monster that she did, so I did another one that was easier. But I did the cupcake, yes. So it was very freeing in a way, because we didn't have this pressure of a very formal class or a formal teaching. And I think this got to our DNA, because we are very experimental quilters, you know. We like to put our hands in it. We like to try and see if that's work. And also we developed our own methods of doing stuff with our background. So Natasha is an architect. She created the quilting architecture, because that was the tool we had at the moment. So it was difficult, but a lot of fun, and a blessing in disguise, I would say that.
That's amazing. And you've certainly created your own unique style. How would you describe the kind of work that you produce now?
Well, we like to call it new thread.
Yeah.
That is, we like to mix and match traditional and modern designs. For a long time, several years, we were focusing only on the machine quilting itself and not the piecing or stuff like that. So we were only thinking about designs, and we like to mix them. So when we started doing piecing and creating other things that weren't only whole cloth, we started to do the same thing, you know, like to, I would say, a bit more modern, but still looking to the past, you know.
Yeah, if you look very thought throughout our quilts, you will see the traditional references. We cannot escape them, because they were like our formation, our very first passion, our very first obsession, the whole class in the contest. So we cannot let them go. We can push to make straight, minimal, modern designs, because we understand the adaptation that we have to do in language and style because of our background. So it's easy editing for us, but our flowy, like, let me just draw here, it's always going to be nail trapped.
And how much of it are you making up as you go along and kind of drawing as you go along, and how much of it is pre-designed?
Okay, it depends. I talk too much, you know. It depends on the project. So this is a very, we put it here because everyone loves it. It's a very free motion quilted. It was not planed a lot. Natasha just draw it like, this is going to be something. This is going to be something. And she was filling up as she desired. And this, although it's the quite same language, you can see here, this was very planned. Like each color, each design.
You put it upside down.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, both ways.
Yeah, and this one was all upcycling. So these here are all trims from when we have to trim our fabric to cut for patch for piecing. This is that, and it was all free motion with no planning at all. And the patchwork and the piecing, we plan a lot sometimes, and sometimes we improve. It's like a whole mess here. We cannot decide on one thing, but I will say that we are almost always trying to reduce effort. So we always tend to free motion with little marking and little the preset designs. We like plan in real scale with freedom, but we plan a lot on our board, which is here. We will use it at the workshop. You'll see we plan a lot because free motion is all about planning. If you plan it right, it doesn't get wrong in any way. So it's just like that.
Well, I want to talk about the workshop, but I've just got one other question I wanted to ask first. Do you both work on each piece, or does one of you like specialize in one thing and one of you in another thing? How does that work?
We both do everything. So we can split a piece, you know, we're quilting the same block, and then I say, oh, Aline, finish that. And she doesn't finish it, or sometimes I do a whole thing, she does another, but almost always we split everything.
Yeah, it's difficult for us not to split because we are always, we like to work near each other. So sometimes, for this example, Natasha was doing that and she said, come and see, is this looking okay for you? And I got to like, oh, this can be like that, this can be like that. So even if she did all the stitching for this, I was on the designing process, or I will finish, and that goes back and forth. So it's very splitted, which is difficult for people to really understand because of the precision of the free motion quilting needs and the precision that whole cloths and contest quilts needs. But we trained for that. That is important to point out. Yeah, since as we began as professionals, we want our brand to have a face. So we trained ourselves to be able to quilt in the exact same way, you know. So it was a very, very thoughtful, developed skill that we've achieved. But we have different styles when we got to do things more fluid. But we can mimic the quilting of each other's because we had to in our minds when we began.
That's amazing that you collaborate so closely together, because I've come across other couples that have like one person does one bit and the other person does the other bit, and they kind of hand off to each other. But to be able to work so in sync, I think that's a rare skill. That's amazing.
That's good. But we separate the other things. Like, I don't do numbers. I am unable to send you a link to update. I will send you the wrong thing. And Natasha doesn't like to do a lot of the art for social media. So I that, and Natasha do all the numbers, like all of them.
Oh, well, that's a good thing then, so that your skills continue to complement each other. That's amazing. So let's talk about your workshop and what that's going to be like. So tell us about that.
Do you want to tell it? Oh, please. So our workshop was a very condensed workshop. So I do recommend that people go with pen and paper and a lot of attention, because it's fun. We talked about our first client quilt, but it's also such an opportunity for every skill-leveled quilter to learn how to do easy free motion quilting, because we developed this method. We developed some methods along this decade, almost a decade that we are quilting. But orbital quilting is the quilting architecture that I was saying, and it was refined all these years. So now we have a very, very easy way to design, to make your quilt path be continuous. And in this workshop, we will do exactly that. We will do a continuous custom quilting, but it's not only continuous curves, not like only orange peel. We will twist and turn and cross the designs so it can be very interesting. It can be like all of this. It can feel creative, even if it is easy. And all the professional quilters love it. I mean, we were professional quilters for a long, long time, and they love it because it is so fancy, but it's fast to quilt. So it's like all of the things we love in one simple technique. And we prepared a surprise trunk show at the end, because how could we not?
I know you've got such an amazing body of work. And when I was looking around on your website, having a good dig around, I noticed you've got a kind of lookbook of all your work, which is like some 70 pages long, that people can download, which is just full of the most amazing work. And I want to ask about that. But first of all, just while we're talking about your workshop, I know you mentioned that this is good for beginners as well as more experienced people. And so I just want to clarify, like, you don't need a long arm, right, to do the workshop?
No, the beauty of this workshop is that it even facilitates your quilting if you're doing it in a machine that has this space for a throat, because we section the design. So instead of doing the straight stitching or the all over design that you have to drag that whole quilt all over your table, you will be able to work with sections. So it is amazing for domestic sewing machine, for sit-down machine, and will work just as well on long arm, but you don't have to have a long arm.
Perfect. So it's wonderful for everyone. And I know I'm absolutely just loving it. So yes, I would recommend it to everyone watching. I mentioned this big catalogue that you have of all your work, your lookbook. And there's some quilts in there which are just astonishing. And in fact, you're kind of showing examples of them here. But I think there were two, I've got the names written down somewhere, but Elemental and Interstellar were the two that particularly caught my mind. Yeah. And these, just the use of coloured thread on a whole cloth quilt is, I just don't think I've seen anyone doing it the way that you are. And so I'm not surprised that you're winning prizes for these things. But do you want to tell us about how that developed?
Well,
these two are very, very different aesthetic from the show quilts.
Mm-hmm.
We are, since the show quilts, putting, thread colors because
to work.
Yeah, because we like it. So.
Yeah.
But these two, they are oh my God. Interstellar and Elemental.
Mm-hmm.
They were planned before this one more, as Aline already said, because
let me show some details. As Natasha,
I'm not much of an improvisational quilter, so I need to plan. That's why I created the quilting architecture, so I could plan.
Natasha needs to know it will look good. Yeah.
And well, I'm also I like to say Sketchers Anonymous. Like I love thread sketching, so I said let's do it. Let's doodle this and be crazy here. And also because this way you can show the color of your thread, so it makes sense to have a lot of colors and play with that. And it's kind of what's the word?
Demorado. It take a long time.
Yeah. That's not a word, but it takes a long time because it has a lot of layers of quilting and micro quilting. But well, I love it, and I want to put them on frames like. Paint,
like art pieces of art.
Natasha wanted to do that for a very long time, but we never found the time. So that lookbook that you said, it's actually a poetry notebook. So among of the quilts, we are working on an English version for that because it's difficult for us to make poetry in English. You know, it's another level of things. But the quilts all have a poem to go with them. It's a very artistic and very profound work for us. So when we were able to frame our work and sell the quilts and the art we've done, this is new for us. We begin this year. We always worked with teaching and providing services. So it was very freeing. We saw like this experimentation. We cannot do that on a client quilt or anything like on the useful items for our house, you know. But when we are putting this on a frame, we do not have to worry about the softness, the drying, the washingness of the thing. So it's very freeing, artistic speaking.
Yeah, I've seen a few people moving to put quilts or tops or whatever it is like stretched on frames, because I think one of the things that I've always wondered about is whether people that buy art, like, do they know how to hang a quilt, or is it just like an off-putting confusion for them? So having something on a frame, like, people are familiar with that and they get how to hang something on a frame. So yeah, very wise. And of course, one of the stars of the poetry of the book that I didn't realize had poems in is your cat. So I am a huge cat fan. My cat is sitting in the blurred background behind me. Tell me about your cat.
Yeah, they're here too. They're all here. They are always here. They are big quilting lovers. Oh my God, they cannot see a quilting and they're there. So
we have two, Xavier, which is the Siamese one, and Balea, that is the black and white one that you see. It's a little fluffy. It's cute. Balea means whale in Portuguese, but it's so the name of a character of a very good book that I think it's translated as Dry Lives. It's a very sad book, but it's very important. And for Brazil. And Baleia, it's a very, very funny dog. Oh. It's the height of the family. And when Natasha wanted to name our cat Baleia, I was like, this is not gonna work. But then you can think of Ballet of Dry Lives, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a funny name, but it's a dog, you know. So Ballet is all over the place with her name. But I love to have cats on the photos and on the quilts because I think their personality meets the quilter's personality somehow. You know, we like to do soft, comfortable, amazing things that look good whatever side you look at it. And I think the cats are like that. So they are like with their belly and, oh, I'm so pretty. And I feel that we could aim to feel like that about our art, because I think I sense that artists, and especially quilters, are always so insecure with their art, with what they are doing, if people will like, if they will gift it, and people will not love it. Yeah. So I think that cats give that relaxation and like I'm amazing energy, and we all can benefit from it.
Oh, that's such a good analogy. Yes, you're absolutely right. And yeah, I hadn't really made that connection, but yeah, I love that. And you must get through a lot of thread with this technique. And so is there a thread brand that you prefer or that you recommend to people?
Well, we use Trilobo thread. Here, we don't have a lot of brand options. I mean, we'd love to use as in a regular basis Superior Threads, Wonderful, Wonderfeel, Orifeel, all these amazing brands, but we don't have it here. As we said, your money costs 5 times our money, so sure. It's expensive for us. So we use embroidery computerized thread, which works just fine because it's tri-lobo thread. So we can use a great variety of colors because embroidery requires that, and just as good in quality and performance. But yeah, we would love to have all the options.
A lot of colors. We
Yeah.
could have so much more colors.
Yeah.
And we only have one
Texture.
Yeah.
One thickness, one
Yeah.
texture. It's very limiting.
Yeah.
That's why Natasha does a lot of threads.
I mean, you're gonna show up, so show up. You know, I don't have it so fine, so.
I agree. This is a wake up call to Aurifil and Wonderful and all the rest of them to get out to Brazil and start distributing that.
Yeah, they are available here in some particular shops, but they are very expensive here. They are very.
Só madeira.
Yeah, no, I understand the conversion rate. It's tough. That's really tough. What is you're in Brazil, and what is the Brazilian quilt community like? Is there a lot of quilting there?
Well, the quilting community itself, it's old, you know. We have shows that have 40 years old of shows. It's like a big deal, I think. We have big shows, but they are scarce. There's like 4 of them, and we don't have guilds. I miss that. I miss the guild community. I miss the guild opportunities that a large group of organized people can do for our creativity, because you know, when you got together, ideas spark. So it's just like that. And we have like shops that have some community, like the students, the regular people, but we don't have guilds, and I miss that. I really wish that we can do that at one point.
I would say it's a very small community. It's like if you say I'm a quilter, everyone's like, what's that?
It's niche.
What? Like no one knows what it is. So you have to, you know, explain every time for everyone. You have to say what it is, and it's
the only time someone recognized our profession, what we do, is when we were going to take our visas. We were like on the post, and that very serious person was like typing, and I was like, we are quilters, and the guy just like glow, and he was like, oh my god, my grandmother, my grandmother, everyone in-law do that. That is amazing. And for the first time, someone already knew what we do. Yeah. So I will remember that.
He was a Brazilian.
Was the very first and unique time that ever happened to us. And I'm always talking about what we do. You can see that I like to talk about it. So I talk in the elevator, I talk to the bakery, I talk to everyone, and no one, even in craft shops craft fairs, I'm so sorry, and craft shops, people know what is piecing, but sometimes, but quilting is like, no one never ever heard of it. So it's small. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more widely known about here, but it is very much like most people's relationship to it is something that their grandmother or their mother did. And in fact, that's how a lot of people get started over here as well. What about inspirations? Like, are there quilt artists or artists in general, or architects, of course, or makeup artists who inspire you both?
Well,
I'm not good with names, so I have to speak.
Me neither.
I was thinking you were saying Lena Bobardi and Paulo Mendes da Rocha.
But not for quilting.
Okay, but yeah. Well, I will not name quilters because that's a big responsibility. Since American and English and Australian quilters gave so much inspiration for us, I'm not able to tell a name of that, but I will name Beta Nemesh, which is a very dear friend and has this freeing energy that I think it's so important. She's always like, do what works for you, do what looks pretty, don't worry about rules. And I think this is amazing and was very important for us when we started, because she's also a show quilter. She does show quilt. So she knows how to separate when to do very specific, perfect, and unstitch things, and how to do more free stuff. So I will name her, but I think that Frida Kahlo, which is a painter, is a very important reference for us, because she's so inward. You know, her art is about her, is about what
very personal. Yeah.
wants to do. And I think that we do that. We are in a point at our artist and quilter career that we want to see in the material, level. We want to see in the word what these feelings and what this urge for beauty and for balance and for harmony look like. How can we bring that to the world? And that speaks very profoundly to me. So I could not live without naming her too.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, that definitely resonates. That's lovely. And I guess my next question then is, with the where you are now and all these different influences and what you're working on, what does 2024 hold for orbital quilting? Like, what's the plan?
Wow, we have big plans. We are launching our first English course after a lot of requests, because we have a small YouTube channel, but that YouTube channel is a community. Everyone comments is a very different from Brazilian social media. Because in Brazil, 1,000 people see it, and we have not one comment. But in English, we like 100 people see it and we have 10 comments. So we get to talk to people and to learn from them, from their questions. And we are launching our first English program, which is the quilting architecture, the orbital quilting itself. It is amazing, really amazing. Several special techniques, a lot of grounding work for you to have to eliminate insecurities, actually, because this is all was about for us when we began, and when we needed to guarantee beauty, fluidity, and a lot of this characteristics that professional quilting requires. But now we have the teaching skill to make it easy, to make it fast, to make it fun. So I really love orbital quilting. I'm a very passionate person, as you can see, but I think that is just genius that you can do fast, fun, free motion quilting that looks amazing. It's like, shouldn't life be like this? Mm-hmm. Shouldn't everything be like this? Beautiful, functional, So that's happening. And of course, we are our social media, which is a lot of work, but a lot of community too, because we miss so much guilds and conversation about quilts. We are very into that on our Instagram and our YouTube channel. We are preparing very amazing stuff for that too.
Oh, this is amazing. And I think I'm right that the orbital quilting course in English is what you're giving away. The giveaways that are running for people as well, so they can enter to win all of that.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, this is so exciting. All right, well, wonderful. Well, look, it's been absolutely fabulous talking to you both. Been a real joy, and thank you so much for your time, and really looking forward to watching that workshop.
Oh, we are so glad we were able to talk. I mean, you are so great. You're doing such an amazing job. We have held some similar events here in Brazil, and we know the kind and the amount of work that putting something like this together. I mean, we don't know because we do for like 2 teachers. So thinking with a lot of people, just yeah, we have a sense of that can feel. So we want to congratulate you on this amazing and very audacious, but very needed breath of fresh air into the quilting and the artwork. So congratulations.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. And yourselves are a breath of fresh air into the community yourselves. So yeah, appreciate that. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for you too. Bye.